Yeah, I'm just grabbing some screenshots here of the list that hopefully Voltage can throw up for us.
Yeah. I'll just
But
throw up the live draft, so we're at the end. Join us this week on Saturday on the King Lime stream. Some of us will be there, some of us may not. Um, go through all the draft as it happens. It's going to be a good time, good party. And yeah, feel free to check it out.
all
Absolutely.
right, shall we get into our owners here? I can go through the list here and we'll go alphabetically.
Absolutely. And
So, oh, sorry, continue.
CNC.
Okay, so starting with the Anaheim Ducks, a new group of owners for Anaheim this season. You got Splash X23 and Dustin Bills as the GM. Isles, have you ever played with Splash?
Yes. So Splash is someone that I had met in the drop-in channel, and I've played quite a few games with Splash. He's a great player. He can play either wing. He knows how to score. This is going to be his first attempt at management. I do believe his first attempt at management. He's got his buddy Dustin Bills with him, and Dustin is an absolute legend of a person. I met him a few times, and he's a good dude to have in the locker room. Really nice guy. Um, and my only concern here is with this tandem is that Dustin is a goalie. You do have goalie and management there, and also I'm not. I think Splash is new to the league, so you may have to run some scouting games there. But these guys have talent, so have you guys ever played with these fellows here at the Interior Trauma Revolt?
Um, I have played with Splash. I've not the first time I actually played with him, he threw out that he'd play goalie as an ECU back in season 2. And Splash, if you know him, is not a goalie. He's very good at forward, but might have got me off on the wrong foot when he played that game. I think we lost like 6-0, but he only faced 10 shots. Sorry, Splash, calling you out there, but great forward, great guy, and I got to play a lot with him later on the forward side of things, and he's actually pretty darn good. Speaking to the goalie as a GM thing, I've done it before. I actually don't think it's necessarily that bad of a move. You kind of get, if your goalie's gonna play a lot, having a GM goalie's pretty nice life. You don't have to worry about drafting another one until maybe the 7th or 8th round, and there's still going to be a quality goalie down there to go get. It just kind of guarantees you that you have one goalie who's going to start maybe 30 or 40 games for you in a season and is going to probably put up some good numbers. So I'm more of a fan of the GM goalie than the early round goalie. And that's my take. I've done it before. Tiger Fan was a guy that I had GM a team. I know that didn't work out for some other reasons, but he did put up great numbers for me, and it was a big part of why that team had a great record that season.
There you go. Awesome. So we do have a lot of owners here, and we are deep into the stream here. Should we throw out some a grade for Anaheim here?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Sure, sure. And I'm going to preface all these grades by saying that some of these guys that I haven't played with, so I really can't give an accurate grade. So for this tandem, I can. I have played with these guys, and I'll give them a B minus to start. I'll give them a B minus. I think that there's talent here, and how they draft is really going to determine their success because I think they're off on a good foot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a similar grade to you. I was thinking I'd give them a B, and kind of for the same reason. I'm not sure they've really proven themselves yet, but they do have a lot of talent. So it'll be interesting to see whether they, take that grade and say, hey, we can draft a good team and go on a cup run with them, or they kind of stay there. So that'll be an interesting ownership group that I think is a bit of a wild card come the end of the season.
Absolutely. Trauma, what do you think? You want to throw a letter out there?
So here's what I'm going to say.
I know majority of the NHL community. These guys are two guys I've never heard of in my life. So based off that, I can't rank them high. I don't know anything about them. Usually, if I don't know you, that usually means you're average or below average. You might be a diamond in the rough. I don't know. I'm not trying to be cocky, but I've been around for so long. I know so many people. I'm going to give this ownership group a C minus.
All right, there you go. On to Arizona, shall we?
Yeah, we can move on to
I don't get a
Arizona.
vote? Tough.
Well, voltage.
Wow. I'm
Mister,
going to
I
agree
don't
with
want
Trauma here. I've been around a long time. I know a lot of people. These guys aren't too familiar to me. Doesn't mean they're good, or doesn't mean they're bad. Doesn't mean they're good. I have no clue. But just from just how this league runs, usually if it's a tight knit community, a lot of people know who everyone is. I don't know if they're going to build a good team, so just because of that, I think I'm going to give them a D.
All right. Arizona, we got a CNC fan favorite, Mason, and Keeksy. I know that May has been around a while. It's had a lot of success. If you look at the CNC stats, overall, you'll see his name on that first page. So, I mean, starting off with an owner like that, fantastic start. And Keeksy had a great season in Washington. I do believe he was on the Capitals. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, but he was a great player for them. So this is like the first like power duo here that are two very solid players. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that May is probably one of the most dynamic forwards that I get to play with, meaning that I think that he kind of, molds his play style to the guys he plays with a lot better than some of the other, guys that you'd say are top players. That's just my opinion playing with him at least. I've performed a lot better with him than I performed with some other guys. So I think that he's a good guy to be taking a team, owning it. He can also draft some guys that, he's played with a lot, very knowledgeable, and kind of build one of those teams that, plays well around him or plays well around some other guys that he drafts. Keeksy, another good player. I've played with him a bunch as well. And, it's kind of one of those teams where they know a lot of guys, and the guys that they're going to draft, I think, are going to be guys that really want to play for that team, and it's going to be a tight knit group. As long as something doesn't go wrong during the season, I think that I could see them making a run at the Final Four for sure. So that's my take on these two. Congrats on the ownership, Mason, and look forward to seeing your team perform this season.
We have a lot to roll through. So, Arizona, why don't you start this time, Voltage? You went last. I skipped you over. Why don't you start us?
I've known both these guys for quite a while, since the beginning of CNC. They've been around, so I have played against them. I think I know them quite well. First time Mason's, I believe, in ownership. He might have been an AGM, but I think he has a potential to build a good team. I think it's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad. So I think I'm going to give it probably a B minus.
All right, John, what do you think?
So all I'm gonna say here is Mason knows the community well. Second time owner, I believe, or he's been Edmonton for three seasons, as Braden said. But because of Keeksy and being with Cree last season and not having the greatest season after Cree went to the Cup Finals, I think that's going to bring this management group down a bit. I'm going to be in the same boat as Voltage here, but I'm going to give him a C plus just based on GM with Keeksy where he was. Mason's going to really boost up his team. So that's where I'm sitting here as a C plus for these guys.
All right, TNT.
Ooh, some harsh grades. I feel like I gotta balance it out a little bit in terms of where I was going with this, but the one thing that we do have to remember is Mason did have a chance at ownership 2 seasons back, and that kind of went south for him. So I think this is a bit of a redemption, and I think that he can do it. But I'm going to give them an A minus.
All right, and I'm actually that was the letter I was thinking in my head for these guys. Between a B plus, A minus. Let's go on the high side, A minus. Let's see how they draft. And we'll go on to the Boston Bruins, owned by AppFan21. Stellar goalie. I'm not sure if he plays other positions, but I do know him as a goalie. Does he play other positions?
I think I've seen him play out, but he hasn't
does.
played it a lot.
Okay, yeah. Well, fantastic goalie, and Ames is going to be his GM. So, how do we feel about this pairing? TNT, you want to start? What do you think?
Well, it was a pairing that existed last season, and I think they did a great job with the first few rounds that they drafted. If I remember correctly, the team ended up staying, fairly near the top of the standings for most of the season, and then a season-end audit changed their record by quite a bit. So I'm not sure where I stand with that in terms of the ownership group. I think it shows that there's a few holes that need to be filled, and I still think that draft could have used a bit of work, but guys like Kovalchuk and Hines being drafted by that team carried that offense last season. So I would look to see them draft deeper next season. That's what I would like to see from them.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to chime in? Thoughts here? Go to the grades.
I'll let Trauma go first this time.
Go to the grades. Straight up F. I just think this is a terrible management duo.
Fair enough. Right off. Right. Let's go.
Gotta
All
say,
right.
I love the
Miles?
bluntness.
Miles,
I
you go next because I'm going to be blunt too.
Yeah, I will try to balance this out a bit. I really think Rapfan is a great player. Again, I'm not super high on goalie and management because it kind of is like, you don't have to draft management, right? So you have first round pick, you have a second round pick. Generally, I wouldn't see goalies go that quick. I'm gonna give these guys the benefit of the doubt and start them off at a B minus.
Okay. TNT, you're next.
It is interesting going with defense goalie as the two positions for your management. I mean, Rapfen is a pretty good goalie, but as you see, didn't get any nomination at the end of the season, even though that team had a pretty decent record. And as I said, they made some mistakes last season, so it'll need to be redemption time for them. I'm starting them off at a C plus.
Okay, that's fair. So for me, they were one of those like border fringe teams last season. I think it's going to be a little bit harder this season to get as deep of a team as I think it is summer season. CNC is going to lose a little bit of that talent. I'm going to give them probably a C minus, as I think it's going to be harder to get that depth, and not having a star forward or star D-man on the team is going to hurt them. But again, Rapsman is a very good goalie. I've played with him quite a few times, and he's able to win a couple games by himself. So we'll see what happens. But I think a C minus is where I'm going to put it right now.
All right, rolling right along. The Buffalo.
Maybe I'm too blunt here. I don't know, but
No,
Buffalo
being blunt's never a
Sabres.
problem.
Buffalo
Unlike-
Sabres, and I do know that management duo is a little different than it reads right now. I heard that it'll be Vozzy taking GM there and not Scope. So before you get to your ratings, maybe that changes something for you guys.
Fusion and Vazi, Buffalo Sabres. That stands out to me. I think that's a great management duo there. Fusion is a great player. I've played against him quite a few times, especially in the playoffs a few times, and played against him on a stacked Bruins team, I believe, in season 3, and then he was a part of the Flyers team this season with Deleuze and the boys, and he's a great player. You know, you have to game plan for him. And TNT, I'm sure you could speak for days about Vazzy. Vazzy is a great center, right? So you have two really good forwards starting out the Sabres. So I'll throw out an A minus as well, just because I don't think Fusion has owned before. So
Oh, he has.
he has.
Yes. I was gonna get to that when you were done, but
Go for it.
yeah, I've GM'd Fusion's team before. I was GM season 4 for the Avalanche before taking the ownership of it in season 5. Fusion's a great guy to have on the team. I first found him in drop-ins in season 2 before the season, and ended up drafting him in I want to say like 3rd or 4th round that season, and he turned out to be one of my better players. Then I was on the team with him season 3 in Boston, and then we owned together season 4 Colorado. So I've got to see him play a lot. His play style is, one of those real playmakers, selfless. He's got a great pass percentage for a guy that plays wing mostly, and he covers on defense as well. Bozzy, again, had him last season. He stepped up big when McKenny quit, and I was able to pick somebody else there. So that was great. And he just, one of those guys who can't get the puck off of him. It does take a certain player to play with Fozzie. I will say that's the one thing that they're going to have to watch for in the draft. Not going to reveal too much of that, but I know that Fozzie liked certain guys on that Av squad that I had last season in comparison to playing with other wingers, just kind of play style wise. So that's one thing that may hold them back in the draft, or it may see them take a guy that you wouldn't expect them to take at a certain spot. But overall, I'll give this duo a B plus just to chirp them a little because I know both of them.
All right, so we got A minus, we got B plus. Let's save trauma for last here. Voltage, what do you think?
Again, both guys have been in the league for a long time. I do think they're gonna have a very strong forward core, especially with the two of them up front right there. Can they build a good team though? I'm gonna go with most likely. I'll say they'll probably be in the hunt for a top 3 spot in the west or the east. Sorry. I'd probably give them in B plus.
Look at two people agreeing for the first time in this owner grades.
Oh wait, sorry, you said
So-
B plus, B.
So I really like this duo. Not gonna lie. Fusion's great guy, great player, and Vazzy just unreal with the puck. They both know a lot of guys. I really think that this Buffalo Sabres team is going to be a top team all year. I'm going to give them an A minus.
Look at that. Vazzy, if you're still watching, Fusion, if you're watching, some big ups there to you guys.
All right, just
All
as
right.
we're nearing the 2-hour mark, I think it's time that we start, speeding up a little bit, just so I know it's getting late on the East Coast, so let's try going a little bit quicker for the rest, if that's okay.
I definitely agree. We could just kind of do a brief synopsis here. Carolina Hurricanes. We got Braden and Atkins. So
Do we have to say anything more there? Let's get to the grades.
yeah, I'm not sure. We have to say too much, to be quite honest.
F.
Trauma. Start off, Trauma.
I'm going to start off. Owner, great. GM, going to be toxic. I think he's going to ruin this team. B.
Ooh,
All right.
Al's, you're
Voltage,
next.
what do you think?
No, you're next,
Oh.
Al's.
Oh, Voltage. Oh, me. Oh, okay. A.
TNT.
I'm giving them an A as well. I think that Braden will keep Addy in check this season.
I think I'm going to lean more towards Trauma, and I think I'm going to agree with him on his rating with a B. All right. Page 2.
All right.
Columbus.
So Columbus is Keegan and Beamed. So I was actually a little surprised that Beam is coming back to the Blue Jackets. I know they were a feisty team down the stretch, and Keegan is an awesome guy. So maybe I shouldn't have been surprised by this. I think the East is very competitive this season, so my grade this duo will be a B minus.
TNT.
I mean, I think that Beamed is a big upgrade on GM from where Keegan stood last season. I think that Keegan's going to have a very interesting draft with his bots or stat pull or all of that stuff that he does. I still think there's a bit of a prove it behind him and that duo there. So I'm gonna go with a B minus.
Okay, Trauma, you're next.
I like Keegan. He's a great guy. I don't think he's great at building teams. Beamed, be toxic. He's gonna be very toxic if this team starts out bad. D plus.
I
All
like
right,
it.
and just to clarify, I think Beam is a great choice for GM. That I don't. If I was ambiguous at all, I think that was a positive.
He's not a good manager. He's managed before. He's not a good manager. He's a great player, not a good manager.
Yeah, no, listen, I totally get it. Alice is Chef Petro.
Holy
Don't
Voltage,
see.
Voltage gets a vote.
wow.
Oh,
That's
snap.
twice
I'm sorry.
Isles. We're gonna have to
I'm
take away
sorry,
your
Paul.
awards.
Totally fair.
I think this is going to be one of those teams that's either going to be, 7th or 8th in the, the East, or they're going to implode very early. So for that reason, I'm going to give them a C. All right, now you can go.
All right, Chef Petro. I don't know if we know his GM yet.
Yeah, I'm not really sure there. I would think one of the guys that he's probably had on the team the past 2 seasons, since the 2 teams he's built have been kind of similar. But I don't have that information. I don't know if anybody does.
So let's
I
just
will.
go with what we see.
Yeah, let's
and
just.
go with the honor.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna give him a C. I just think that this is gonna be him building the same team for a third season in a row, and that team was great the first season he built it. It was okay the second season, and now everybody's gonna know the MO on it, and that's kind of what I'm thinking there.
Okay. Alice, what do you think?
I'm not that familiar with Chef managing. I don't really. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
What's your rating? I don't know if I heard it.
No, I don't really have one. I haven't really seen enough of Chef to say, so I don't want to just throw a letter out there. Not really sure.
Well, I have no problem throwing a letter out there. He's a great guy, but I'm giving this an F. The fact that we're this close to bidding and he doesn't have a GM, just terrible. Easy gets an F.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I mean,
I shouldn't say bidding. I should say draft.
I mean, I agree. I mean, he doesn't have a GM yet, or at least a confirmed GM yet. I know from just seeing his team last year and the year before that, it's kind of what TNT said. It's the same thing, just different names. I don't think it's going to get any better. I don't think it's going to get any worse. I think it's going to be pretty much the same as last season, where it's just either a fringe playoff team that gets beaten 5, or it's going to be a team that doesn't even get close to playoffs. So for that, I'll give it a C minus F plus.
You're skipping D?
Yeah, it's in between there. We'll
But
give
can
it
I
a
start
range.
with this Edmonton Oilers team?
Sure.
I think a few people want to start with it, but go
I
ahead.
think Trauma deserves to start with Edmonton.
This is the only team on this entire thing that I will give an A plus to. Dank Daddy is a great owner. Custom Nova has dominated the AHL the last 2 seasons. He's coming up to the NHL to manage. I think these guys are going to be a top team. They're going to compete for the um, President's Trophy. This is probably the best management duo that we see here. I give him an A+.
Okay. I also want to follow that up.
I don't think I can follow that up, but I will attempt to. I love Dank Daddy. I think he's an awesome guy. I haven't seen a lot of him on the ice, but I do know he's a great locker room guy. I know he's a great personality, so I think that his team is going to be a positive one, and I think that actually does play a factor. You guys talked about sometimes toxicity can bring down a team very quickly, but I think being a positive and kind of a level-headed guy like Dank Daddy, I think that plays a role. So, Custom Nova tore up the AHL. That's awesome. So let's see if you can bring that over to the NHL. I'm gonna give these guys a solid E.
TNT, you're next.
All right, so I know Dank's waiting for
Oh
this
boy.
rating, but I know that his team that he built last season was basically let's take the AHL team and everybody that has a PS5, let's try it out in the end, and that didn't really work. Then Dank kind of traded some guys at the deadline that made a lot of noise in management chat because the value that he got back for the players he traded was basically zilch. I've heard from some players that played for him last season because I was on an AHL team as well. Some of his former AHL players that had moved up to the N with him were on that team and just kind of said, like, Dank's way or the highway is how he runs his team. That's either a great thing or it's a terrible thing. I think it's a terrible thing, so I'm gonna give him a D-.
All right,
I vote
I'm
that-
last. Oh, how am I gonna put this nicely? After just seeing him being in the owners chat last season, it was hard to read sometimes. And I do agree with people saying it's Dank way or the highway, because holy shit, that man does not stop. Whatever he believes is the way it's going, regardless of what you say to him. For that reason, I think that alone, just that stubbornness, is gonna get an A+. No, I'm joking. C-. I think it's gonna be another team that's gonna be probably a little bit better than last season, but I don't see it going any farther than really it was.
Funny how this completely switched for this. You guys are being blunt, and I'm the one that's giving him all the credit.
All right. Play Kings. We got It's Trickster and Flow So Clean.
If you don't mind me taking the lead on this, I feel like I know this management duo pretty well. I haven't played with Flo a whole lot, but we've been involved in a lot of trades between our two teams over the last few seasons, so I've got to know him a lot more as a person and as a manager, and I think he does a pretty good job with his teams. He's had, not the best of luck out of a few drafts, and he still ends up turning in a pretty strong team by the end of the season. He does draft pretty good players. He knows the value of guys well. He knows guys well, and I think if you go see that team he's put together in another league, I know that he can put together a good team. Trickster had him as an AGM with Fusion in Season 4. He was a big part of a leadership role in terms of rallying guys in the locker room, and also was very knowledgeable with players, looking around at who was in the league that season, doing a bit of research for us. So I'll give these guys an A.
We're gonna switch up the order here. I think Trauma should go next.
Yeah, I don't know these guys as well as TNT does, but I mean, they're Flow So Clean. I know the better of the two. He's a good guy. I think he's going to run a decent team. I don't know that he's going to be in that A category as Real Deal does, but I'm going to give him a C+ to a B-.
Okay, Isles, take it away.
I know Flo has been management a few seasons. He's a pleasure to talk to. You know, I've definitely had some negotiations with him and just kind of chatting with him. He's a pleasure to speak to. So I can only imagine that that kind of transfers over to his locker room. I'm not too familiar with Trickster and his management style, so I can really only grade Flo here. But I will give this team. I'll give him a B minus because I think that Flo's. I think there's potential there to kind of show more. So I'll go with B minus.
Yeah, Trickster, if you guys need some help there. Nitro, Prodigy. There's a few other names you might know him by, but I'll throw
Oh, is
out
that who
those.
it is?
Yes, that's who it is.
Oh, okay, B plus. Sorry, I didn't know that's who it was.
Prodigy. What's the full tag?
Oh, Prodigy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, that's who that is.
I'll change my grade. I'll give him a B plus.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, I guess it's my turn. Hey, Flo. I look great in LA Kings uniforms. Feel free to take that as you will. But in all seriously, I think this is going to be a really good team. Flo has built playoff teams his entire time in CNC from what I remember, and I think this is going to be no different. I could see this team going far, but either way, it's a playoff team. I'm going to give it an A.
Boom. On to the next page we are.
Yes, sir. Montreal.
Montreal, we got Muted Nobody and Dirty Dangles. I'll take the lead here just real quick because I do know Muted pretty well. Dirty Dangles, I'm not as familiar with, but for Muted, winning this team, the Atlantic is going to be pretty crazy. Seeing some of the owner pairs in the Atlantic, I think it's going to be a very challenging division. But I do want to start these guys out at B minus. I think that they could surpass that. They could not. It really depends on the draft for me. These guys. Starting with the Vesna goalie. I mean, that's a great start.
Yeah, Muted, top goalie. As I said, I'm a bigger fan than maybe Isles is of the goalie and management. I don't know which Dirty Dangles this is. There's too many Dirty Dangler, Dirty Dangles this, Dirty Dangles that. I don't really know a whole lot about the GM. If somebody can give me some info, if either you two guys know him, before I drop a grade here.
I'm not too familiar myself, but knowing Muted, it's probably somebody that he plays with quite often.
All right, I'm sure I can trust Muted's judgment, but just because I don't know how well he knows CNC, I'm gonna give them a B minus.
I guess I'll take it next. I'm not a fan of goalies being management. Dangles is a good player. He's LG NHLer from what I understand. If Muted plays wing, this team is going to be average at best. If he plays net the entire season, he can probably build a good team. I just don't like goalies as owner. C for this team.
Fair enough. I respect it. What about you, Isles? What are you thinking?
I think I gave these guys a B minus just because I wasn't very familiar with Dirty.
Fair enough. For me, I know why Muted chose Montreal. He's another Habs fan just like myself. I know. You guys don't need to say it.
Unbelievable Habs fans. Sorry, I'll go back on mute.
Oh, God. Right? I understand. It's crazy. But I think it's gonna be a good team. He's ran a few teams in the CHL in LG, so he knows how to run a team. I think for CNC, that's going to mean he's most likely going to be at least a minimum playoff team. So I think I'm going to give it probably a B minus. All right, so let's move on to Nashville. Al's doing to take it away.
Yeah, we got Crimson, 1979. Crimson is back, I believe, owner last season as well. back in Nashville. What do you guys think? I'm not super familiar with the on ice here.
I feel like I don't know if Braz is coming back as a GM or anything at all, but I feel like Braz was more of the brains of the team the last 2 seasons, and we saw how that worked out. Not amazing, so I can't see this going any better. It's my personal.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this kind of sorry. Go ahead, Voltage.
I was gonna say let's save us for last because we played on the team with him when we were on the Kraken. So I think we let Isles go, and then I think we go next.
Without knowing the GM here and not really being familiar with Crimson on the ice, I don't really have a grade for Nashville right now. I kind of have to see the GM because I know Crimson's a good dude. So I don't know. I'm not too accurate here.
D- from TNT. On to the 2 other boys.
Yeah, I like Crimson as a defenseman. I think he's gonna do something okay-ish, but just based on not having a GM, I'm not gonna give him an F like I did for Petro, but I am gonna give him a D-.
All right, it's my turn. I'm going to be blunt. I think without Braz, this team is going to go into shamble mode right off the draft. No offense to Crimson at all. He's a great guy. I just don't think he's cut out to be an owner or a manager. But yeah, if he definitely doesn't have Braz as his GM or someone like Braz who can win games by himself, I think this team is going to be one of those struggling teams all season. So for me, it's going to be an F.
All right. On to the Islanders with Carmel.
I'm just gonna start this off with a Z. Just absolutely fucking terrible.
Hey, Carmel has as many cups as you do, Trauma. Just remember that.
Yeah, being carried on a 4th line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that Carmel even had a cup until like 2 seasons after Carmel had a cup. Nice guy for taking over the Islanders last season, although I can't see anybody. I can't see him doing much different than that team kind of did the rest of the season out when he took over. So I'm giving it an F.
All right. Yeah, I'll give this a C. I respect Carmel taking over the Islanders. Personally, I hope the Islanders do well because I'm a hard Islander fan. But I'll give him a C, and we'll see how he drafts and who his GM is because I think if he can lock in a really good GM, that would be a great start here for the Islanders.
Okay. And for me, I know I was on that team with Carmel. I was the GM of that team that won the cup. He's a great guy. He has gotten better since then. I don't think the team is going to turn out that well. And, being friends with the Isles, watching the Islanders suffer in any league or even in the NHL brings me joy. So I think that this team's going to struggle, and I think I'm going to go with probably a C- because I do think it has a chance to not be one of those bottom teams, but like one of those teams that's like, 15 points out of a playoff spot.
All right.
Let's move on to
Is
the
that
Ottawa
everyone here?
Senators.
All right. Ottawa Senators. Just right off the bat, another kind of duo that I circled on my paper looking through. Bucket Teal and Crazy Koala are teaming up to head the Sens. Would anyone like to jump in and take away
I
this?
would love to take this.
Go ahead.
I said earlier Edmonton was going to be my only A+. I lied. I didn't know this management duo existed. Bucket Teal, great guy if you're on his good side. He can be toxic at times, but he really knows how to build teams. Crazy Koala is easily, in my opinion, the best center in the league. And they know how to build teams. They know a lot of talent. This is an A+. This team's going to be very good.
All right. TNT, want to take it away?
Yeah, I think that this is one of the teams that you want to get drafted to this season for sure, just based on management duo. Both great guys. Talked to both of them, and if you're on TNT's good side as a good player, as skilled as both of these guys are, I mean, I always have much love for some of the players as good as these two that will take a chance on a player like me every once in a while, and kind of give me some tips and make me a little better. They're just both great guys, very knowledgeable, and build great teams. Everybody wants to be on a team with these guys. I'm giving them an A+ too.
Al, so you're next.
Tuckatiel is defense, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm a big fan of starting a team with a defender and a center. I think that's a really strong way to start your team. Koala is a top center in CNC, a great piece to start with. And Tuckatiel, from all I've heard, is a really, really solid defenseman. So I'm going to give these guys an A as well. This is going to be a very good team if they draft well.
Okay. For me, it's going to be one of those cup or bust teams. I think that this team is going to draft a lot of LG guys, and I think that if the Veil's not there, the team's going to blow up, kind of like how Carolina did last year, where everyone thought they were going to walk all over the league and they didn't even make playoffs. And I think it's going to be one of those teams. It's either going to work really well and they're going to dominate most of the season and going to be, a cup contender all season long, or it's going to be one of those teams that just struggles because the LG guys don't give them availability. So I'm going to give it a, if it all goes well, A+. If it all goes wrong, D.
All right.
On to the next page.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
I think
So funny enough, I was trying out for the Pittsburgh Penguins while we were going through some graphic stuff.
Boy.
Just because I saw they were doing a tryout and I wanted to see what was up there because I think that I know what my grade was before doing the tryouts. I don't think the tryouts changed very much. I don't see this team winning any more games than I did last season. I see Braden saying in chat deserve an F. I'm giving them an F.
Isles, you're next.
Next, also quick update. I do believe Crimson has confirmed Braz will be the Nashville GM there. This is an update. So that definitely boosts them up a little bit for me,
Yes.
having Braz back. But Pittsburgh, I will say, DePaco did not forfeit too many games last season, despite being in this, low single digit for wins. And I think there's something to be said about that. He was still able to field the lineup. He was still committed to the team. So I'm not going to give these guys an F. I will give them a C-. I'll give them the benefit of a fresh draft. And I think it's something to be said that you can get people to show up in one of the worst CNC seasons I've seen. I'm going to give them a C- because I'm going to give them a chance with a fresh draft.
All right.
Voltage, you want to take this? Because I'm going to be very blunt.
Oh, I'm going to be very blunt too, but I'll probably a little bit, more forgiving. I think that, this team last season, no offense to anyone that was a part, but it was a dumpster fire. The team had one win after 60 games in the season. It was a tough scene to, have. But I agree with Isles. They did not, forfeit pretty much most of the, very few games compared to teams that were 3 points out of the playoffs, and they started forfeiting because of egos and stuff like that. So I think, do I think the team's going to be better? I think there's a chance because, they've had a season, they've seen where people go, teams that are good, so I think they're going to be able to get maybe one or two, solid players now. But the question is are those players going to want to play for them? And that's a big issue in the league. But overall, I think if they play, I think this team's going to be a little bit better than they were last season, but I'm going to go with C-.
So I'm going to be very blunt here. A lot of respect for DePaco fielding a team the entire season, or at least for a majority of it. So I do have a lot of respect for him. But from how terrible that team was last season, probably the worst season in CNC history, one of the worst seasons I've ever seen in any league, um, and no one's going to want to play for this team. You draft a good player, they're going to quit. Sorry, they are. Nobody is going to want to play here. This is the worst management duo I've seen. This is going to be a Z. This team is going to be absolutely atrocious. They may have 5 wins this season.
Yeah, and just to add on before we move on, the thing that I fear is when we say draft a decent player, I feel like they're gonna go with like a 5th round talent in the first. Like they're gonna be a good player, but they're not gonna be a player that can carry that team. And that's kind of the fear there. That player quits, and then where are you at? So
This is just by far the worst management duo on this list.
And that's just the worry there is just having that last season, just seeing how it went. It's gonna be hard to get that top end talent and keep them happy.
yeah,
But-
shout out to Jimbo Fisher for having like an 82% pass percentage on that team after playing on all season. That's all.
All right, I think we move on to the San Jose Sharks.
San Jose Sharks will be owned by ex Moisty Cheeks X and Leafs 33. So I'm only saying that guy's name once.
I gotta give him an A++ just for his fucking name.
What was the owner's name, Miles? I didn't hear it.
Sorry, you'll have to watch the video on demand to hear me say it again.
I'm gonna clip it
I don't-
so you can relive it.
I don't know these fellas, so I can't give a score. I'm just not familiar. So I'll pass it off to one of you guys.
I'm just doing my quick research here. Looks like Mr. Moist is a career CHLer, 81 and 88. Bit of a wild card there on building a team. I know that Leafs is a really good goalie.
He's a good center too.
Okay. So I have a lot of faith that the GM placement here is like the skill placement. Leafs kind of being the guy who can carry and the owner being, maybe at least better than me. That's how I build teams. I pick a GM that can show it on the ice, and I build a team for them. So, bit of a wild card here. Could be a good team. Could be a bad team. Gonna give them a B- to start.
Okay. What about you, Els?
I'm not familiar, so I'm gonna skip over this one.
No skipping. Give a rating.
Yeah, I don't have one. I'm not
Pick a
familiar
letter,
with these guys.
Give a grade.
NA.
I hate you so much. All right.
I'm gonna go to the random letter generator.
Do you want to go here, voltage, or do you want me to take it?
I'll let you take it.
And it generated an E for you, Isles.
And he works.
Okay, so I have no idea who the hell Moisty Cheeks is, but that name is just phenomenal. Moisty Cheeks, just great name. I hope he builds a good team just because his name's Moisty Cheeks.
Oh,
So based on Moisty Cheeks here, I don't know anything about him, but Moisty Cheeks took a good GM here.
Who is the owner, Trauma?
It's Moisty Cheeks, in case you're wondering.
Okay.
He's the owner of the San Jose Sharks, Moisty Cheeks. But yeah, I don't know anything about him, but I really love Leafs as a GM. I think this team is going to be a middle of the pack team, but fighting for a playoff spot. As long as Moisty Cheeks doesn't suck it up on the ice and get too moisty, and melt the ice. But I'm going to give this team a B. I'd give him higher, but because of Moisty Cheeks, I got to give him a B. I hope Moisty Cheeks proves me wrong.
Oh.
All right. And for me, Leafs is a solid player. I'm assuming he's going to do a lot of the drafting and finding players like that. So I think this team has potential. I think it's going to be a playoff team. I don't think it's going to be a high seed playoff team. I think it'll be like a 7th or 6th seed. So I'll probably give them a B minus.
Can you tell me one more time who the owner is?
It's Moisty's Cheeks. Oh, sorry, X Moisty _ Cheeks X.
Perfect, thank you.
No worries, no worries. All right, let's move on to my least favorite team this season, the Seattle Kraken.
Straight up F. I don't even need to talk about this.
Yeah, I don't think we need to even go here. It's
F. That's an F.
All right, let's move on. The Toronto Maple
Okay,
Leafs.
no, real talk. I wanted to talk about the Seattle team. I love Tankel. Tankel is a phenomenal dude. You guys have managed the last 3 seasons together, I think, right, Isles?
Well, actually, just the last season.
Really?
We have been on the same team together.
I don't think Tanks even managed 3 seasons in CNC.
I mean, Tank's just a great guy. I mean, he co-ran a league with me before. He knows his shit. Isles, you know everybody that there is to know. I think just because you pull stats all the time. I think you guys are going to build a really, really good team. You're not the most talented duo per se. You guys are like very talented, but you're not the most talented, if that makes sense. So based off of that, I think you're going to build a playoff team, a good competitive team. I'm going to give you guys an A minus.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of agree-ish with that, but I'm gonna go with an A. I think that every team that Isles has built or been a part of building has been a top team. And also, Tank Cal, I know that I think the first season that he owned, it was actually taking over from somebody who quit. I feel like it was Desired Snow, Arizona.
He took over the. Yep.
Yeah, and you know he's one of those guys. Like I don't think that team had great success the rest of the season, but they were competitive and he did what he could with a roster that wasn't all that great. And he's one of those guys I was pretty happy for the moderate success of that Arizona team, as I thought he was a great guy to talk to when he took over. I had some conversations with him, so I'm going with an A.
All right. And Isles doesn't get to vote. I'm sorry.
I do want to hear what Isles says. I want to hear what he rates
Yeah,
himself.
let's see what you rate. Yeah, let's actually hear it.
I rate Tank.
Nope, you're rating your manager
Rating
duo.
both. It's a duo. You can't rate just the owner. You said it yourself.
All right. Well, we better save me for last then. Voltage, what do you think?
I'm gonna agree with Trauma there. Like you guys are gonna be a very good duo. Are you the cream of the crop duo? No, but are you guys gonna build a very good team that's most likely gonna go to a conference final, maybe even the cup? I believe so. I'm gonna give you probably an A minus, and let's see what you guys do this season. Make the Kraken proud. Don't win the Rocket, because that's my Rocket.
Absolutely.
That's my Rocket.
I have to shout out Tank for being an incredible defenseman. I don't think he gets talked about as much as he should. He's not a noisemaker in CNC. He's not in the gen chat a lot. He's not saying a lot. But on the ice, I'd take him at right D over a ton of the league. I think he's one of the top right Ds in the league. He knows how to build a team. He has great knowledge of not just CNC, but other leagues. I think he showed off his offensive capability this season as well with the Devils. He knows how to shoot, knows how to pass, very smart, composed, and a great leader. So this is a guy who I think some people sleep on. I know he could play, higher in LG than he is. He's very talented. So for Tank, I'll go with an A minus for the Kraken. I think each season we've put together a very strong team, and I look forward to trying to replicate that success.
God,
Well, if you're just copying us or being humble.
No, he's just full of himself. A minus? You got to give yourself a D, man.
Well, what's above a Z? A Y? We can go Y if you.
We'll go Y. Y for why did you rate yourself?
Yeah, no, I rated Tank. I have a lot of faith in him. Um,
All right, I think we should
Okay,
move on.
Maple Leafs.
The Maple Leafs.
Um, I take it from here because it's my favorite team.
Oh God.
I love the Leafs. I want the Leafs to do well. I don't give a shit who Bullet's GM is. He's going to build a great team regardless. This is the only guy without a GM who I'm going to give an actual decent rating to. I'm
Snyder.
going to.
Snyder, yeah.
It is Snyder. Even better. That makes me rate him higher.
Snyder.
I think he won the Norris. He won the Jack Adams. Multiple players on his team were in the team of the year. He's going to build a fantastic team. I give him an A.
Yep,
Alright.
going with an A as well. Same reasons, and Snyder being GM again.
All right, Alice, what about you?
Bullet had been my owner up until season 5, so I've been with Bullet since season 1. He knows his stuff. He's a great defensive D-man. And I was very impressed with how he drafted last season, where he got Snyder locked in, who had been on one of our previous teams. And Snyder is a very sneaky goal scorer. He's very good. And then he took Koala to kind of fill that hole at center. And that was very smart because Koala is one of the top centers. I think there was a hole at center, where I had left, but Bullet kept on moving, and it was no breeze to him. He just went ahead and built another great team. So I'm going to give this Bullet and Snyder an A because I think they're going to do it again. They're going to have another great draft, and we'll see what happens. But I will say the Atlantic is shaping up to be very competitive based on the management duos, and they're a large reason why. So.
And I'll be honest, I just want to say one more thing. I think if availability was an issue in that series, I think that series goes 7, and I think they actually take the Devils out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great series, no doubt.
All right, and for me, as you were saying, they did lose to the Devils last season, so just because of that, I can't rate them higher than the Devils, but I will give them the same because I do agree with you. I do believe that was really a 7-game series just without the avail. So I think it's going to be an A- as well with the Kraken. All right, last page of owners that we have. We got 3
All right, we got
teams
3 more
left.
teams.
All right, Isles, do you want to take away with the Vancouver Canucks?
Vancouver Canucks, we got XX Doc, and we got Goose NHL. So I'm going to defer to you guys here. Maybe you know them a little bit better than I do.
I know Doc is the goalie that always plays with Scotty on stream. They're really
Guess
close.
what? These are 2 goalies.
Oh.
Stop.
Well, I know
Stop.
Doc will probably play some right wing, I'm assuming. But we'll see how it goes during the season. But overall, I think it's going to be an okay team. I don't know if Doc's ran a team. I'm not too familiar. But it's going to be interesting to see how this team goes. For a rating, I think it's going to be one of those teams that's going to be like an 8th seed at best. Especially if they're both goalies both playing. Usually 2 goalie tandems don't usually work out too well. So I'm probably going to give it a C at best. Who wants to take over next? Trauma? You go next.
Assuming I'm right that they're both goalies, it's an F. I mean, one goalie as a management's bad enough, but if you have 2, that's just terrible. You can't start a season like that.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that one of them will play out of net. But if they are both goalies primary, it's a plus.
All right, TNT. Beijing TNT.
Oh, my bad. I think that team's basically a straight D on my rating. I mean, maybe if they're both good goalies, you don't have to draft one, and and you get that. But outside of that, can't see much happening there.
All right. Now we're gonna move on to a team that I'm very curious how it's gonna work out. We're gonna talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. Isles, do you have anything to say about that duo?
Sure. Vegas Golden Knights, Ned Braden returns to manage the Golden Knights. This time, he's brought Wolf as his GM. Volt, that's a former teammate of yours. I'm sure you could speak about how talented Wolf is on the ice. But I know Braden. I think he's a great guy. I enjoy speaking with him. Had some very pleasurable conversations with him, just in terms of trade negotiations and just general thoughts about the CNC. I think he's a great dude. I think he's going to be a good presence in the locker room. Haven't seen him a ton on the ice. I think of the few times that I have played his teams last season, he had informed me they were, some thrown together lineups. So you can't fairly really rank him on that if that is, what his situation was. But I do know that he knew how to draft the Vesna. I'm sorry, he knew how to draft the Calder Cup, Calder Trophy Frenchman. So he's got an eye for goaltending. I'll start these guys at a B minus. What do you guys think?
I think that Wolf as a GM is an improvement on what Ned's done in the past in terms of management. He really goes with guys that he knows player-wise, and I guess maybe Wolf is somebody that he knows now, having played with him. But that's an upgrade for him, and I hope that Wolf kind of, pushes him to draft some more offensive-minded players than he usually drafts. I think that would balance out Ned's teams very well. He's a great defensive team drafter, great goalie drafter, but doesn't really have an eye for the forwards. I think if you saw last season, like their 11th round pick was one of their highest scoring players, and it wasn't like it was like a 3 or 4 point a game. It was like a 2.5, which is not bad. It's just not going to carry you to a cup or anything. But I'm going to give them a B.
So both Voltage and I have been teammates of Wolf. If this is just Braden, I would have to give him an F just because he didn't let Jim Bob run his big build. But no, in all seriousness, I think this team's going to be decent. It all depends on what Wolf's going to play. I hope he plays forward because he's, in my opinion, a below average defenseman, which is what he's playing in LG right now. I'm going to give this team a C plus.
Okay. Yeah. So just on that Kraken team, obviously me and Wolf played quite a bit together. I think just the biggest thing that hurt him that season was when he moved to Florida. It kind of took him a while to adjust to the new ping he had, and it kind of took down his game quite a bit. But now that he's adjusted, he's going to be back to his old self. So I think as a GM grade, he's definitely a big upgrade. And plus, with the GM tag, he can play, forward, defense, whatever. So I think overall, this team's going to be probably one of the higher ones in the West. I think it's going to be probably around the same spot they were last season, just with probably a little bit deeper of a roster. I would say probably a B plus. All right, and everyone went, I believe. Correct.
Yep.
All right.
So last, go ahead, Volt.
All right, last team of the night and last talk. Let's do the Washington Capitals, who is ran by Cree. And does anyone know who his GM is?
Lappy.
Lappy. All right. So let's start off with Trauma this time.
Yeah, so I played for Cree not last season, but the season before when we went to the Cup Finals. So he can build a team that goes to the Cup Finals, but then he can also build an average team like he did last season. And then having Lappy as a GM, a very good player, can be toxic. Maybe I don't know too much about him. I might be thinking of the wrong guy. But just because he went from a very good team to a mediocre team, I can't rate these guys better than a B plus.
All right, TNT, you want to take it away?
I think Curry's had some interesting management with him. He always picks somebody who's a very skilled player every season. So it's a bit of a 50-50 draw when you go into that in terms of are they toxic, are they not. I don't know about Lappy, so I can't really speak to, whether he's the type of guy who's there from the start to the end, like some of these elite players, or is one of those guys where it goes wrong for a week or two and all of a sudden you're back to the drawing board. Just because of that, I am going to go with an A minus.
Okay, Isles, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, I think that Cree. I do agree a lot with what Trauma said about Cree could build a team that is in the Stanley Cup Finals. Cree could also build a team like last season that was, barely snuck into the playoffs and lost a bunch of standing points for different violations here and there. So I think it's really going to depend on how committed the management team is here. And also, I do think that the trade restrictions is something that may have hurt Cree because I know a team that made it to the finals did have a lot of trade deadline action. So I'm interested to see how Cree does with a fresh draft this time around, if he changes his strategy at all to try to be a little bit more balanced. But Cree is a good player. I've played with him before. I will give this team a B plus, and we'll see what happens.
All right, and my turn for the last time of the night. Korean Lappy, I think it's going to be an okay duo. I think it's going to be another one that it's either going to be really good or it's going to be a first round exit in the playoffs. I think I'm probably going to lean more to the rewards of the early exit, but he can prove me wrong. Just for that reason, I'm going to give it a B minus.
I do want to say one more thing about Cree is stay the hell off defense.
So that's one of his former teammates, Eon's. Love you, buddy, but that defense experiment last season was pretty funny.
Oh man.
All right, and last thing for the stream, join us again this weekend for the draft stream on King Lion TV on Kick. It's going to be a good time. See how the teams draft and see if our owner rankings are right. But from everyone that's here on the stream for CNC tonight, I want to thank everyone for tuning out. Hope you guys enjoyed. And anyone else want to say anything to the 27 people still watching?
Well, you guys stayed here for possibly up to almost 3 hours,
2
so
hours,
thanks
45
for
minutes.
thanks for taking a night out of your week to come watch us or listen to us and watch the nice graphics made by Bobby. Appreciate it.
We really do appreciate that because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into this stuff behind the scenes. On these awards, I do want to shout out before we end the guys that helped me with the nominations: Isles, Real Deal TNT, Apex Predator, and Spoon the Goon. Those guys were a huge help for me this season. So there is no question of bias because there's 5 of us. So I do really appreciate the 4 of you stepping up and giving me a hand this season. So thank you for that. And like I said, there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes with Bobby making the graphics, Voltage getting the stream all set up, and these 3 guys that are here with me tonight, just taking a night out of their time to present the awards and go over some management rankings. So huge shout out to everyone involved.
Yeah, you said that pretty darn perfectly, Trauma. A lot of people played a big role in this happening, and thank you to everyone, especially that tuned in, because without tuning in, this wouldn't happen really, and we appreciate you guys checking it out. I know we had a good number tonight, and that just really means a lot with how much work we put in here to put on a good show for you guys. We're still new at this, me, Voltage, TNT, and Trauma joining us tonight. this is maybe our 4th or 5th stream together. So we hope that each stream has been better than the last, and that's a big thank to everyone that helped out. So, Bobby made some incredible graphics. Voltage was able to put everything together on a time crunch. TNT and I helped clip some of the videos there that took a little while, and everyone chipped in, So, and Trauma, you impressed me a lot on the panel, dude. That was awesome. So, thank you guys. Thank you for joining. If you're rewatching this on video on demand, thank you for checking it out. And, feel free to throw some props to these guys for the work they put in. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Of course. Anything you need to say, TNT?
I've said my little bit. Have a good night, everybody, or what's left of it. Maybe some sleep if you work early in the morning. Don't know. I'm golfing tomorrow. It's a good Thursday.
I hate you.
All right. Everyone take care. Good night from everyone here. Peace.
Ciao.